The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
And welcome into the Sportsocracy. I'm Tank Spencer. Jeremy Greene is alongside, and we're in the Wicked Weed studio, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. It is a Friday morning, and it is time to talk NFL draft.
It's actually a Thursday night, but...
Well, yeah, that's true.
You're seeing Friday morning.
Yes.
We're, at least me, snoring like a motherfucker right now. At least I hope I am. Tomorrow, me, sleep, bitch. Sleep.
And I'll be trying to keep up in the comments as we roll here through Jeremy's first mock draft of the season. Mr. Draft Nerd Extraordinaire, owner of NFLDraft.net, going live as soon as possible.
As soon as my little fingers can make it happen.
Yes. The 2021 first mock draft of the season by one Flostradamus, Mr. Jeremy Greene. All right, so
the rules of this are we basically used the Tankathon draft order. It does all the tiebreakers and shit like that. This is if the season just randomly ended right now, this is the order it would go.
Right. So obviously the first pick belonging to
the Lions plus 3.5.
Yeah, the winless Detroit Lions. And it's going to be a quarterback. I know that much. I said 3 years ago that this was going to be Sam Howell, number one to the Detroit Lions in 2022. Am I right?
The short answer, no, you're not.
Well,
it's Matt Corral, Ole Miss. Here's the thing, and this is the best way that I can explain how this decision is going to go. I have Sam Howell as the number one quarterback in this class. He's also the safest quarterback in this class. He does not have the highest ceiling. A team like the Lions that is this vested into building through the draft, they can wait on a guy that's not necessarily NFL ready. Matt Corral, to me, is not NFL ready. You want to see what Matt Corral's going to look like? Look at Justin Fields in Chicago. Yes, he's accurate. Yes, he's got the big arm. Yes, he's mobile. No, he's never set an NFL level. He's never gone through an NFL level progression. He's never set an NFL offensive line. He's never done any of those things. So would they play him from minute one? Probably. Would it go particularly well? No. And if it goes particularly poorly, they do have Jared Goff that could start.
Right.
That all plays into this because they can't really get away from that contract. They don't have to take a quarterback. It's just a question of do they fall in love with one. I have a funny feeling that in the pre-draft process, you're going to see a lot of teams fall in love with Matt Corral. There's going to be the knocks of, he's kind of short, and he's not got necessarily the NFL body. He's about 6'1", about 200 pounds. He will have to bulk up in the NFL. I don't think he's going to get any taller, but he does have all the tools that you would want of a number one overall quarterback. To me, this kind of reminds me of the Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen year. Because there is one quarterback that is safe as hell. He's going to be an NFL starter for 10 years. Does he have a higher ceiling than Baker Mayfield? Yes, he does. I would say his floor is about what Baker is right now.
Okay.
So there will be teams that go, I don't want to invest the number one pick in that.
Right.
Baker is probably his biggest – that's probably the biggest detraction of Sam Howell going one.
But what's the best Matt Corral can be?
The best Matt Corral can be?
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes.
Really?
Yeah, he can be that good. Because he's Pat Mahomes mobile. He's got the big arm. He doesn't necessarily do all the, arm angle things that Pat Mahomes does. And I'm not saying he can be necessarily that good.
Right.
He has that level of raw tool. And he's not built like Josh Allen. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that come along that are built like that. Now, here's where the problem lies. This ain't the first one of these. And there have been a shitload of them that came out of systems like Lane Kiffin's that came into the NFL and they could never progress.
Right.
So if he doesn't go one, that's why. Because teams look at him and go, well, that's Andre Ware. That's Akili Smith. That's, just keep doing it. There have been just a litany of these. But at the end of the day, I would say he has the highest ceiling of any quarterback in this draft class, which makes me think that's probably where the Lions would go.
All right, the Houston Texans sit at number 2. And do they decide to go quarterback?
This is where Sam Howell goes. Mm-hmm. Now, here's where there's a method to the madness here. I look at Sam Howell and go, you're a really high-end version of Baker Mayfield. I think he's drastically better than that. Mm-hmm. Your floor is that. Accurate, can move in the pocket, might kind of be beholden to the weapons around you. Well, the Houston Texans have the best trade asset in the NFL right now. By the end of this offseason, just the sheer fact that I know Deshaun Watson was trying to settle to facilitate the trade before the trade deadline, he's going to settle all of these out. Mm-hmm. I have long been told there is no criminal aspect to this that's coming, at least right now. Could things change? Sure. What I think is most likely to happen is the Texans go, who is the guy that we know will be a starter for 10 years? Plus, I can't emphasize this enough, Sam Howell is squeaky clean. This is the best kid in the history of time. This is one of the reasons I've said that he's going to be a top 10 pick, period.
Right.
Because there will be teams that fall in love with him in the pre-draft process just talking to him because he's such a quality kid.
Yeah.
Now, all of that being said, there are people in the scouting industry that will like Kenny Pickett better. We'll get into him a little later. The thing about Sam Howell is that he can do a little bit of everything. He doesn't have the biggest arm you've ever seen, but he's got a big enough arm. Mm-hmm. He's not the fastest kid you've ever seen, but he's mobile enough. He can do everything the NFL asks to do right now, and he's smart as hell.
Yeah, and his accuracy is top notch in my opinion.
Where a lot of people that don't do scouting, I'll be honest with you, I'm in touch with scouts a lot. You know what I continuously hear about from them about Sam Howell?
What's that?
God, I hope teams fall for this. He has no weapons. Oh, look, he can't do. He lost He lost the top 2 receivers on this team. Mm-hmm. He lost the top 2 running backs on this team. Mm-hmm. There's just not a lot left. There's raw talent, but you're trying to figure this out on the fly. Plus, they started this season with a conference game. They got put into a bad situation having to go to Blacksburg, and then the season just kind of unraveled. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, there are a lot of people that do what I do that don't think Carolina's coached exactly well.
Right.
Offensively.
Yeah.
Sam Howell, to me, is the safest quarterback in this draft.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of bust potential in him.
He has made a lot of bad decisions this year, but most of that is kind of Patrick Mahomes-esque. This year Patrick Mahomes-esque of, I have to do everything. That's what looking back at the first game of the season with that Virginia Tech game and that awful interception that he threw at the end, he was just trying to do too much.
Yep.
And so maybe when he gets into it.
A lot of times scouts look at that and go, you're not going to be asked to do that in the NFL. Mm-hmm. There's never a talent disparity like that in the NFL.
Unless you play for the Houston Texans.
Well, and even then, they still have talent. You still have a guy like Brandon Cooks. Right. There's not hey, my receiver has not run a route here ever.
Right.
And you go into that and you do that in Blacksburg, and then all the things unwind. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of scouts in this league that are going, please let people fall for this with Sam Howell and let him fall into our laps.
Mm-hmm. The number 3 pick would belong to the Miami Dolphins, but that got traded off to the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles.
That was for any Dolphins fans watching this.
Yeah. So the Philadelphia Eagles at number 3.
You can't not do this. If Kayvon Thibodeau's sitting there, I don't give a damn what's on your team. I don't care about Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, on and on. I don't care.
Yeah.
He's that good. And Philadelphia, at the end of the day, if Howell goes 2, Corral goes 1, I don't think there's a quarterback they would be comfortable with at 3. Mm-hmm. Now, they have another pick. Might take a quarterback there.
Right.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Kayvon Thibodeau is as good of a defensive end prospect as I've ever seen. He's that, and he's been that since he was in high school.
Right.
This kid is a freak of nature. He can do damn near anything you ask him to do. If you want him to stand up, I think he can stand up. He's that athletic. 6'4", 250, just freakish production. If you want one slight, he might have to put on a little good weight in the NFL. Mm-hmm. But even then, I don't know that that's a thing. I think at 200, I think he can play in the NFL at 250 pounds.
Yeah.
We're seeing defensive linemen and offensive linemen get smaller because of the spread, and Kayvon Thibodeau is what a lot of pass rushers are going to look like.
He is a generational talent. You hear that a lot in draft talk, but, I mean, he's being compared to guys like Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney that went number 1 overall. A lot of people think he's going to be the number 1 overall pick regardless of what team has that number 1 overall pick.
And I don't.
Well, it's the state of the NFL. Like, you got to chase after a quarterback.
Well, and here's the thing. There are going to be teams that fall in love with a quarterback. I can't tell you it's going to be Matt Corral. Somebody might fall in love with Malik Willis. Fuck, I don't know. I don't see how you're going to do that.
Right.
Well, we'll get to him before it's all said and done as well. You get 2 teams here in the Lions and the Texans that you have to do something at quarterback. The Lions don't necessarily have to do it this year. I just think you're probably going to go 0-17. And to not come away with a kid that I think is either going to win the Heisman or he's going to come close. He will finish in the top 3. He'll be at the ceremony. I think it's going to be hard for you to bypass that. And that's to the benefit of the Eagles. This kid falls right in your lap. He fits that defense perfectly. If Nick Sirianni keeps that job. But, I mean, this is a building block piece.
Right.
Philadelphia is resetting the roster. And they're doing it on the fly. And they have plenty of time. Jalen Hurts, I'm not going to tell you that my opinion on him has changed. But if you put better talent around him, he has proven that he can win games in the NFL. So the Eagles don't have to reach. They don't have to make a decision right now. And I think any quarterback they took at 3 would be a reach.
Again, if the season ended today, Philadelphia would have the number 3 pick. They'd also have number 9 as well. So another chance for them to add some more talent coming up here in the top 10. At number 4 sits the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Aiden Hutchinson.
Kid from Michigan. Yeah.
I would have said, literally 2 weeks ago, I would have said, there's no way they don't take Derek Stingley here. But I don't think you can. Aiden Hutchinson is unfucking believable. This kid jumps off. In every tape I've seen of him, he jumps off the screen. He's long. He's strong. He's apparently very well liked. And of all the things I've said, that's the one that matters the least. But this is a good against the run, good against the pass. There was a time that we thought, Aiden Hutchinson, he's just going to be a situational pass rusher because he can't hold him against the run. Yeah, he can. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch the Michigan State tape where they willfully ran away from him and ran at guys that will be drafted in this draft, not giving a shit because he's that disruptive.
PFF has him as the number 1 edge rusher graded in college football this year.
There are people that like him better than Kayvon Thibodeau. I'm not one of them.
I think Kayvon takes the back seat in the PFF grades, though, because he's missed so many games, I would imagine.
Well, it's not even that. That can actually benefit you. The problem with Aiden Hutchinson is that there's been so many special plays. He's done so many special things that anything that grades like any metric that grades like that is going to love him. He's not as athletic as Kayvon Thibodeau, but I think he's considerably stronger.
All right, Aiden Hutchinson and Josh Allen. That's a frightening tandem.
Yeah, I mean, this
to have as a pass rush.
This is a kid that at one time he got picked on in the run game. He's improved on that. And looking at the tape from previous to this regime with Michigan, I think a lot of it was schematic. He wouldn't necessarily hold up, but I've seen it enough this year that I'm not overly worried about it. And I think he's almost guaranteed to go in the top 6.
All right, the New York Giants, they also have 2 first-round draft picks here pretty high in the draft, but their first one comes up at number 5.
There's just not really anything negative that I can say about Derek Stingley Jr.
Yeah.
He's coming off an injury. His season's obviously done at LSU with the foot injury. Other than that, I haven't graded many corners that I grade better than him. He really doesn't do – there's nothing that I can point at and go, he can't do that. Because he can tackle. Man, zone, press, slot, outside, doesn't matter. He can do any of it. I have not been this sure of a corner since Patrick Peterson.
Wow. That's high praise.
Yeah. I mean, this is just a kid that you just avoid him like grim death. And there will be people that say, oh, he's had such great talent around him and things like that. I think this year we kind of saw that. That's not necessarily true. And I don't think – one of the things about Derek Stingley, I don't think he's been coached particularly well. So there's still potential in this kid. Now, granted, he goes to, the Giants. So I do like Patrick Graham, though.
Right.
Of all the things I like with the Giants, I do think you have a good defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a good coordinator can coach up more to come out of Derek Stingley. I just really freaking like this kid. Dad played in the NFL.
Yep.
I'll just keep waxing poetic about Derek Stingley if you want me to.
I was going to say he was the highest graded cornerback in the nation as a true freshman. He is a truly, truly talented kid. Mm-hmm. And, hopefully he can go to the Giants and thrive. Hopefully he's not one that, goes and busts. They didn't do very well with their last corner that they took high in the draft. Unfortunately, DeAndre Baker just didn't pan out to be anything. But Derek Stingley's almost a can't miss kind of a guy.
I hate that.
I know you do. I know you do. And anyway, that number 6, the Washington football team.
You don't often talk about height, weight, speed with a quarterback. Carson Strong is one of them. This is a kid that I think is going to get into the draft process, and people are going to fall in love with him.
They're just going to see his physicality or his physical attributes and go, wow.
He is what Jordan Love was sold to you to be.
Okay.
Carson Strong there's not a lot of deficiencies in his game. He turns the ball over a little bit, which, yes, I know I've said that if you do it in college, you'll do it in the NFL. Carson Strong's one of those kids that I think would benefit from sitting behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for a year. Level of competition, I mean, there are a litany of things. At the end of the day, it would not stun me if he was the best quarterback that came out of this class. Because he's got a rope, and he's really accurate. And he's never really played with that high level of supporting cast. And every time you play Nevada, you know exactly what's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, he is this offense. They don't have shit outside of him. And I look at him and just go, I could see him. I could see him being the kid that blows the combine out of the water. And then he goes from being where you're seeing him now, which is back into the first, beginning of the second, blowing that out of the water, and now we're talking about a top 10 pick.
Right. And so he can leapfrog all of these other guys that are getting, a lot of pub, and Malik Willis. And
the thing that's going to hurt him, if anything hurts him, is that you've got, I would say, the top probably 6 quarterbacks in this class, 7. He's without a doubt the slowest. He's the least mobile of all of them. And that might hurt him. I just don't think Ron Rivera is going to care.
If he's still the coach by then.
And I believe he will be.
At number 7, oh, God, here we go. Number 7.
Jets, Jets.
This would be the Jets pick, not the other picks that they have.
Correct. It's not. This is the Jets pick, not Seattle's.
Yes.
And if this happens, you will see Jeremy go full 6 to midnight on camera as we host this live.
How did I not know that this name was coming? Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame.
Here's the thing. I don't necessarily think the Jets would want to do this because they've invested A1 and A2 in safeties in the last 5 years, 5 years. I don't necessarily think Joe Douglas puts a big premium on safety, but Kyle Hamilton next to Ashton Davis, holy Jehovah.
Right.
I don't say what I'm getting ready to say lightly. Kyle Hamilton has Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed level impactful at safety in him. Go back and watch Florida State tape. It was bananas. Look at this defense last week against Carolina. Carolina, they could actually move the ball on what was supposed to be an impenetrable defense.
Oh, yeah.
What were they missing? Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
He's that piece that you don't see come into the draft a lot. There's not a lot of safeties that just can do everything. Even Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams went this high, oddly enough, also to the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Adams had some pass coverage issues that bothered people. They just thought, that's Troy Polamalu. I'm going to say this even a step further than what I've already said. He has Ed Reed range with Troy Polamalu's physicality.
Wow.
That's how good this kid can be. Yeah. He's my number one player in this class. The problem is that he plays a position that's getting less and less and less relevant in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. But if you can be that physical and that good in coverage, I mean, the new wave of NFL safety and the way that they're, turning safeties into linebackers.
He genuinely does not have – there isn't a slight at him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want him to be bigger? He's 6'4", 220. How big you want him to be?
Yeah.
Oh, he's not fast enough. He's going to run if he runs, which I don't think he will, but if he does, he'll run high 4.4, low 4.5. He can play line. He's Isaiah Simmons with much more skill.
There you go.
The kid's a freak of nature.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason he falls this far is because he plays safety. And that's getting – I'm not going to say he's getting faded out. It's just you're seeing a lot more combo joker-type players that do that. That's not what he is. He is a old-school punch-you-in-the-mouth safety.
And he will be insufferable if he falls to the Jets.
You think I'm insufferable now? Wait till you see who they get 3 picks from.
At number 8, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. This is Philadelphia's pick.
Yes, this is their own pick.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Neal, offensive tackle out of Alabama. This kid is a fucking house.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think he is half man, half house. I think he's 6'7.5", 365. He is a ginormous human being. This is a long-time left tackle in the NFL. Worst case scenario. He's played damn near every position at Alabama. He's played guard.
Mm-hmm.
He's played right tackle, and he's played left tackle. Versatility's through the roof. This is a day one starter, no doubt. The big slight on him is that I think he would be better on the right side than he is on the left.
Okay.
That makes me slightly nervous. You know my theory with Alabama players. There's not a lot more to them than is coached out of them by Nick Saban.
Right.
That's my biggest slight on him. Is that there have been times he hasn't looked overly comfortable on the left side. He looked more comfortable on the right. The thing about offensive linemen is that there just aren't many that are no doubters. That's why we were so high on Penny Sewell.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew going in.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case scenario, he's a top 15 tackle in the NFL. I can't say that about Evan Neal. Evan Neal's a kid that he could have weight issues. I like him better on the right than I like him on the left. But he's so impactful that I don't see how he falls much further. Because this is not, I'm going to level with you, this is not a good offensive line draft.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I don't remember exactly how many I have. I think there's only 2 graded in my top 50 that don't go in the first round of this draft. Guards weak.
Mm-hmm.
This is just not a good offensive line draft. So that's going to push a guy. I have Evan Neal in the mid-teens, but he's going to get pushed up, and he probably gets pushed up to a team like the Eagles that do need another lineman.
Right.
Now, and people will say, oh, but they've got Vitae on the left. That's kind of my point.
Mm-hmm.
You can say you got Vitae on the left. You can hide Evan Neal on the right for a long damn time.
Right.
Slide Lane Johnson in at guard.
Okay.
I think that would keep some of the injury issues, and you have to remember, you got a quarterback that he needs some help, and he likes to run.
Mm-hmm.
You put 3 gigantic, first of all, that'd be the biggest offensive line I've ever seen in my life. You put that in front of Jalen Hurts, and I think you would be a little surprised at what he can do. He's never going to be a good thrower of the football. You put a line like that in front of him, and he can be the best that he can be.
At number 9, this could be Philadelphia's pick. I mean,
as of right now,
Indianapolis has it.
It's like election night.
Yeah.
We're projecting that something is going to happen to Carson Wentz, and this pick will stay with the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, okay. All right. So the Indianapolis Colts get to keep their pick. I
have a funny feeling there's going to be an injury with Carson Wentz as soon as they fall out of playoff contention.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Hopefully after they lost to my Jets last night.
The clock is ticking on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to hit that 75% snap count or keep him under that so they don't have to surrender the first-round pick, the clock is ticking on that. So if they keep the pick, you say what?
You're stuck with Carson Wentz, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have to do?
Give him weapons.
You have to give him a weapon that's consistent. You already have the big, physical, powerful, win at the point of the catch receiver in Michael Pittman. Garrett Wilson's the exact opposite. This kid's explosive. And yes, I know they got Paris Campbell. Yes, I know they have T.Y. Hilton. Neither one would ever stay healthy.
Exactly.
If you're never on the field, then I don't give a damn how explosive you are. Garrett Wilson he has done a lot to help his draft stock. Because going into the year, we thought Chris Olave was no doubt the best of the two receivers. I've completely changed my tune on that. Garrett Wilson can be an elite deep threat in this league. Little small. He's 5'11", $185.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to a Hollywood Brown or somebody like that, he's a fucking Tarzan. But if I was going to have a slide on him, it'd be that. Don't necessarily know how well he'll hold up in the run game. You don't really see them ask him to do that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They'll run to his side, but it's one of those fictitious blocks where he runs out and route, and then, you're off balance. Now I'm going to get my hands on you.
Right.
It's an Ohio State staple, by the way.
Right. I could very well see Indianapolis making sure this pick stays at home, especially if it's going to fall into the top 10.
And that's exactly how I think it goes.
Yeah. And in that case, they would have to give up a 2.
Yes.
So, anyhow, at number 10, this is where the New York Jets would fall in again with Seattle's pick.
Yes.
Get ready for the thumb on the scale.
DeMarvin Leal.
Oh, my gosh.
There are some people that do not love DeMarvin Leal as much as I do.
No.
Here is why I love him so much, and I don't see how he slips past the Jets 2 times.
Okay.
He's so versatile. There is a path where the Jets have found something, whether it's in Shaq Lawson or Bryce Huff or whoever would be on the other side of Carl Lawson, that you can play DeMarvin Leal on the inside with Quinnen Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Salah loves getting interior pressure.
Oh, God.
He can be the DeForest Buckner of this defense.
Right.
Eric Armstead, however you want to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just do not see how the Jets are going to let him get by. This kid is gigantic. 6'7", I don't remember how much he weighs, but he is a horse of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
You slide him in next to Quinnen Williams, who's been getting good pass rush from the interior. This screams Rob Salah to me.
Mm-hmm.
DeMarvin Leal screams to me a player that he's just going to be so freaking good. So good. So good. God, I love him.
And Jeremy's love of the New York Jets will continue and only thrive if you could pull off these 2 defensive players in the first round of the draft. Number 11, a pick belonging to the New York Giants. This is the Chicago pick that they sent for Justin Fields last year.
Yep. Oh.
Hit the button.
This is another kid that screams on tape. George Karlaftis from Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
Every situation he ever gets into, he's the best player on the field. Doesn't matter. You can't block him. Doesn't matter. You cannot block him. Now, he will be a situational pass rusher. Kid's not particularly good against the run.
Yeah.
Could he get stronger? Sure. But do I think that takes some of the dynamic away from his ability to be a unbelievable pass rusher? Yeah, I do. I don't necessarily think you want him to gain weight. I really don't. I think it will be better for him to be that third down, 30 snap a game, good fucking luck.
Just have to pray. You just have to pray that you can block him or knock him off the track just enough to buy your quarterback just a little bit of time. I can see that. At number 12, it's the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm going to let you do this one because he's your guy.
Oh, God. Nekobi Dean. He can just do so many things. And the thing that I love the most about him is he's got an eye for the ball like nobody I've ever seen. I mean, he gets after it game after game. What do you think?
The Florida tape was the Florida tape drove him up.
I mean, he ruled that game.
Yeah.
He absolutely ruled that game.
Yeah, he did.
And so I'm not the expert here, but what would you say about his ability to cover as a linebacker?
That's one of the things that scares me about him. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that frankly scares me about every one of these Georgia players. Yes, they look great on tape. Mm-hmm. Is it a sum of all parts? Because there's a player that you're not going to see in my first round mock draft that's a player that you know very well from Georgia. And I think it's a sum of all parts. And it bothers me. There's just a lot of things that bother me. Now, can he be... The thing about Nekobi Dean is that he is such a missile as a blitzer. Mm-hmm. You don't see many guys that can play off-ball linebacker that can do that. Darius Leonard is one that comes to mind. Mm-hmm. They're so rare, but it's so scheme-specific as to who can use that. You know, it screams to me. When I watch him on tape, he screams to me, hey, that's a Dean Pease guy. Mm-hmm. That's a Dean Pease guy right there.
Yep.
Who's the defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons?
Dean Pease.
He's fast as shit. Mm-hmm. I don't know how fast he's going to run, but watching him on tape, I think it's going to be real motherfucking fast.
Right.
And yes, that is a scientific measure. It's going to say that on screen.
Yeah.
Real motherfucking fast.
The Atlanta Falcons obviously would love to be able to bring one of the Georgia boys. I'm really interested. Now I'm really interested. Now I'm really interested to see who it is that you didn't put in the mock draft.
It's the name that you think there's no way they won't get in this.
Wow.
And we're only doing half of the mock draft here. There'll be another video later in the day.
You're talking about Mr. Heisman candidate? Oh, my God.
There's a fear with him.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about Jordan Davis.
Yes.
The nose tackle at Georgia.
Yeah.
There is a fear with him that he's going to have weight issues.
I could understand that.
There is a fear he's going to have weight issues. There is and now look, this is the definition of projecting because he's a top 15 pick right now.
No doubt.
My fear is that he's going to come to the combine maybe a little hefty because he's got a lot of baby fat.
I mean, they list him at 340. I guarantee he's 370.
I was about to say he's every pound of 360. I've done this for a while.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at guessing weight. I'm not quite a carnival worker, but I'm pretty damn good at this.
Right.
He's every ounce of 360. Wow. And his weight fluctuates a lot. There's some thought that maybe not the most disciplined. Mm-hmm. And it's a projection.
I mean, that's been the story about him. In his entire football life, the football is not his first love.
And to say that's
right.
Another part of it.
Right.
I have a fear that a lot of the Georgia guys are going to get pushed down because of each other. Mm-hmm. Because you look at how many of these guys are on one defense, and yeah, it's really impressive that Nekobi Dean, he's the one to me that is the most insulated from that. Because he is something that you just don't see very often. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid that it's going to be a sum of all parts, and they're going to get nitpicked. And it goes back to there was an Alabama defense, and I can't remember what year it was. I evaluated it, where I think there were 7 guys drafted in the first 2 days. Mm-hmm. Like one of them was an impact player in the NFL.
Was that like the D. Milliner draft?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a fear that every one of these guys is getting propped up, which makes me think they're going to drop. Adam Anderson's another one that falls into that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a great pass rusher. Yeah, because you can't ever double him. Ever.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
So there is a fear with that. Okay. But the second half, by the way, we didn't say this from the jump, but I'm looking at the clock going, well, we're going to split this into 2.
No, that's fine.
And it'll come out later today. Because we'll have to record it in the morning. Hey, sleepy self, wake the fuck up.
We got shit to do.
We got 16 more picks to do.
All right, Nekobi Dean at number 12 overall to the Atlanta Falcons.
Number 13. This is a kid that I absolutely love.
Tyler Linderbaum, the center out of Iowa.
There are not many centers that I look at and just go, oh, you're a top 15 pick. Period. I mean, first of all, he plays at lineman U anyway. But this kid, this is the best center I've ever graded by a lot. This is a 15-year starter in the NFL. This is the guy that calls line signals for whether it's Deshaun Watson, Tua Tagovailoa, whoever's playing quarterback in Miami.
Right.
This is the guy. This is a guy that can bind all of the raw clay of that offensive line, which has been a problem. You can bind it all together. Because this is the guy that makes sure everything's right. I have long said I like the talent that Miami has on their offensive line. They just look a little listless. And I've long said that's because center's been a revolving door. It was supposed to be Matt Skura. And it's just they haven't gotten great play from that position.
Right.
This
Home
kid,
run pick.
This kid, you'll get high-level production from.
Yeah, absolutely.
I promise you.
Absolutely home run pick. Number 14 belongs to the Minnesota Vikings.
This is making up for the Jeff Gladney mistake. It's Kyrie Elam. This kid has really high-end upside. Florida does a pretty tremendous job of putting secondary players in the NFL.
I mean, they're okay at it.
There's one thing about him that makes me a little nervous.
Okay.
Height, weight, speed. Because he'll be average height, 6. When I look at him, I'm seeing about 6.5. So I think he's about 6 foot and half an inch. He's a little light, and he's not overly fast. But he is tremendous at covering receivers. This is not a guy that's going to be covering the Tyreek Hills of the world because he'll get blown by. My fear with him is that he's going to run at the combine and run like a mid 4.5s, and he'll sink like a rock.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't because the cover skills are good enough. He can be a longtime player in this league. He can be an impact corner in this league. You just have to go to the right place. Now, I'm curious who the next defensive coordinator for the Vikings will be when they invariably fire Mike Zimmer.
Right.
But this is a guy that can be a number one corner in the NFL.
Shut down all-pro level maybe at some point in his career.
He would need to be worked with for that, but the cover skills are elite. And that's one of those things that never seems to go away.
He's only given up 83 yards in coverage this year.
Yep.
That's insanity.
He's real, real good.
All right, at number 15, that pick belonging to the New England Patriots.
This is a kid that I am absolutely drunk on. Ahmed Gardner out of Cincinnati. This is a Bill Belichick guy. Straight up. I watch him play and I go, yeah, that's a guy that ends up in New England somehow. He doesn't really have a deficiency. Other than you don't ever have to throw at him, and you never should. So the tape on him is going to be scarce. He doesn't get challenged enough, which is odd because the corner on the other side is a draftable prospect too. But that would be about my only slight on him. He's so technically gifted. It's kind of like porn.
Yeah.
I've been doing this with New England for so long that there are times that it's hard for me to explain. Kobe Bryant, by the way, is the other kid's name. Yes, his name's Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find my profile on Ahmed Gardner because I don't remember how tall he is. Screw it. We'll do it live.
Yeah, screw it.
He's one of those players that I watch and go, scheme specific, you could be Stephon Gilmore-esque. And that's what I think they'll ask him to be. This will be the guy that defends the one. J.C. Jackson can deal with the 2. He can play in the slot, play with a short guy, whatever. You've got Jonathan Jones, the slew of other corners they have. They need a 1. Ahmad Gardner's a 1.
Okay. I was trying to find it for you too, but I can't. I couldn't pull it up here.
I think I'm on 2023 because none of these names look fucking familiar.
And number 16, this is where we will leave it for this edition, first half of the first round mock draft for Jeremy Greene in 2021. Well, I guess it was 2022.
This is the 2022 mock draft, yes.
Oh, time flies when you're having fun. Number 16 pick belonging to the Denver Broncos.
And this is where you get Malik Willis. I don't think that George Patton or Peyton, or however, if you want me to call him Peyton, put a fucking Y in it. I don't think he can resist.
Mm-hmm.
The raw tools with Malik Willis are tremendous. This team has a good line. This team has a good running attack. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon will be gone next year, but you still got Jerry Jeudy, you still got Cortland Sutton, you still got Noah Fant. If you want to make Malik Willis a starting level quarterback in the NFL,
mm-hmm.
you're going to have to give him weapons like that. I think the trade of Von Miller screamed to me that George Payton is playing the long game. Whether it was about a Halloween party, whatever the case may be, that's what that move signaled to me, is that we're moving off the franchise icon and we're willing to play the long game on a quarterback. The team that drafts Malik Willis will have to be willing to take that risk.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yes, he's fast. And, yes, he's got a rope. The problem is that there's all these raw tools. The level of competition is not good. And there's just things that you see on tape and you go, I don't really know how I feel about that. A team's going to fall in love with him. There's no doubt in my mind a team's going to fall in love with him, because this is a kid he's going to come in at about 6'1", 220
mm-hmm.
and has legit 4.5 speed.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not Lamar Jackson fast. He's Russell Wilson fast.
He looks it, though. He's looks at the level of college football that he's playing right now, so he will obviously slow down when he gets around faster players in the NFL. But he's a kid that's been very, very impressive since he's been at Liberty. And he has some of that Patrick Mahomes-type magic.
See, he doesn't to me. To me, all of the magic that I see comes against inferior competition.
Okay.
And I think he's been coached well. The problem that I see with him, you're not seeing high-level athletes. And when you do, you tend to get to this point where you don't see things because he's so short.
Mm-hmm.
This is another kid that I could legitimately see coming in. I could see him going to the combine and you see how tall he is and go, oh, fuck. He's 5'10". That's going to be a problem. Now, we said the same thing about Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
So, do I see a skill set there? Yeah. Yeah, I do. But it's going to have to be to the right team. This is not a guy that I want to see go to the Washington football team where he's got one real legitimate weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to need you to have a sum of all parts. And Denver is that. And you still got KJ Hamler, who I didn't even mention.
Right.
You put that level of weapons around this kid, that second-round talent now is a first-round quarterback because the raw tools are there. And he could sit behind Teddy Bridgewater. I think Teddy Bridgewater would be a great, no pun intended, bridge to Malik Willis, because that's a veteran-level guy that can teach you how to, grind on the tape, grind through the film, first one in, last one out. That's the kind of guy you need.
Yeah.
Now, what that would mean for Drew Lock, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But they have tapped on Drew Lock.
Yeah.
George Payton has no skin in the game with him, and I see him taking a stab at somebody like this.
All right, that'll do it for the top half of the first round of the first 2022 NFL mock draft by Flostradamus Jeremy Greene. We will pick it up later on in another episode. We will have 2022 mock draft numeral 1, episode 2.
Yes.
Coming on the way. Yeah. Here in the Sportsocracy. Hit that subscribe button, like, share, follow, all that good stuff. Be sure to subscribe so you can get in on all of the chats during our lives. And, of course, don't miss us every afternoon at 3 o'clock as the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville.
The goal is to have this tied to the first one. So the goal is to do this in the morning and tie all of them together, and now it will just progress into the next one.
Indeed.
That would be the objective.
Yes. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene, and we will see you next time.